All right, everyone, welcome back to this episode of the Schlank Show. I am very excited to be joined today by the two members of the Big Swing podcast, Cooper Slurls, self self described big sports fan, and Ross Stripling, who is also a big sports fan, also happens to be a pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays. Thank you guys both for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, man, for having us on.
Yeah, thanks, Seth.
No problem. So, Ross, first of all, congratulations on the new baby. Hope everyone's doing well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my wife is doing great, and my son Jackson is almost 2 weeks old, and that's if you guys can see on Cooper's Zoom, he's got a Jackson right behind him. I don't know if he's as cute as my Jackson, but he's close.
It's debatable. I would
Yeah.
probably say it's neck and neck at least.
Yep.
All right. So, my initial question for you is to both really. How did you guys first get introduced to the game of baseball?
Coop, go first, dude. How'd you get into baseball?
4 years old. Baseball was my first love when it came to sports. I played baseball, I guess maybe 3-4 years old. And what we would do is my dad would sit on his lazy boy watching TV, and I would stand at the other end of the house, and we would just play catch inside. That's how lazy my dad was. But we were doing that for as long as I could remember, playing catch in the living room, breaking things. Always a good time.
Yeah, my story is pretty similar, really. I know Coop and I both had older brothers, so it stems from that, playing anything with your older brother and then your dad too, just getting, it's just me and my brother. That's he's my only sibling, just getting us outside and playing catch and throwing to each other, letting us hit and run around and tire us out. As a new dad, I got to learn that trick for sure as Jackson gets older. But, it really, I guess the first, memories of baseball are just me, my brother, and my dad playing outside in the backyard.
So, from my perspective as a high school kid, what is it like to get, be able to pursue a career in professional baseball?
Well, man, it's a good question. It takes a lot of work and dedication, as does any career. Cooper will tell you in his job, it takes dedication to get out of bed every morning and got to set goals for yourself, realistic ones that you can achieve. And as far as being a professional baseball player, when I was in high school, man, I didn't, that was kind of a pipe dream. Yeah, I want to be a professional athlete. If anything, I probably said I want to be a professional basketball player more than baseball when I was your age. And you go to college and you learn new things and you figure out the avenue that you want to take in life. And mine happened to be professional baseball. That's what I dedicated my time and efforts to. And, now looking as a 31-year-old man to say that I get to go out and play a kid's game every day. And it's pretty special. So, but it's the same amount of work and work ethic, dedication, time management that goes into trying to have success with anything you do, man.
Right. So, my next question, I guess, is for you both. And how did you guys meet each other, and what inspired you guys to start the podcast?
Yeah, so really, you got to go take your stuff out, Ross.
No, I was saying you do it.
Okay. Really, the person to thank would be our wives. Our wives were roommates in college and really good friends. And Ross and I didn't know each other aside from them. And then kind of when we both got out of college and started to get into our professions, we started to sort of hang out more here in Houston. And one night we were at a Rockets game, and I was telling Ross about all the podcasts that I love and listen to. And he was sort of new to the game. And just kind of as a joke, one of us just sort of said, like, hey, man, we should start a podcast. And we sort of looked at each other a couple times, and we woke up in the morning. I think I sent Ross a text and just said, like, hey, man, were we serious about that? And he was like, yeah, I think so. So after that, we were off and running. And within like 2 or 3 days, we were announcing that we had a new podcast.
Yeah, it happened really quickly, Seth. I think there's been a lot of people during the pandemic, maybe yourself included, that have started podcasts. And it kind of like a light bulb that goes off. And it's like, I want to talk about stuff, and Cooper's really good at the tech side of it. Plus, a very knowledgeable sports fan. And then I have a network of baseball players and other people that are in the locker room that we can talk to and have some open conversations that maybe you don't see through normal media outlets, and it just felt like a perfect combination for a podcast, and that's what we did.
Yeah, it sounds awesome, really. Both combinations compared to myself, doing everything, networking and also tech stuff.
It's a lot of work, man.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it takes. Me and
Right.
Ross realized you just got to do it. You just got to rip the Band-Aid off, and you may not like it at first. It may sound awkward to you, but it's certainly, if you listen to our first couple episodes versus now, 100 plus episodes in, it's completely different. Our comfortability level is different. Our chemistry with each other is different, and it's just overall better.
Yeah, I can't begin to tell you how long it took me to actually listening to myself talk.
Mhm.
Right, yeah. So, Ross, my next question is for you. My favorite Players Weekend jersey just happened to be yours. Chicken strip. How did that? I know it's a play on your name, but how did that come about?
Well, when you got the last name Stripling and the first 5 letters are Strip, there's a lot of nicknames that can come from that one. And that was the very first year of the Players Weekend. And we wanted to keep it really PG that first year. They've kind of let the, cat out of the bag since then. And, but my first thing is I tried to just do strip, and they said no. And then I tried stripper, and they said no. And then, I wanted to have something on there and show a little personality. And no one really called me Chicken Strip, especially ordinary, like often. It was never a very common nickname for me, but I had been called it before, and we're just going through other possible nicknames that they might accept, and we just went with Chicken Strip. And man, it stuck like crazy. There's more people that yell Chicken Strip at me from the stands on social media and stuff than by my normal name. I mean, it is absolutely stuck as a nickname.
So, I'll ask you, Cooper. So, what's it like being able to speak with someone and be able to be in contact with someone has just that big of a network? And
it's kind of interesting because when you may look at Ross and you see like a professional athlete, big time pitcher and everything, and he's just a buddy for me. So what it does do is it normalizes talking to other big time athletes, and so that's kind of been an advantage, I think, for our podcast. That and I think Ross could probably attest to it too. Like when we started it, I don't think that he had any reservations about me talking to Clayton Kershaw or any of these other people, because he knows that I act normal around him. And so I think it was definitely an advantage, but certainly it's normal to me.
Right. So Ross, I just want to ask you, from my first Blue Jay I'm speaking to, who was in Buffalo last year. What was that like?
Man, it was, to go from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles to Buffalo was certainly a massive transition. But tell you what, the Blue Jays did the best they could as far as pumping some money into that facility and making it as nice as they could for us. And we felt a huge advantage playing there. I think we maybe ended up playing around 20 games there. I bet we won 14 of them. We felt like we definitely had the advantage. For one, our whole team was so young. They were all there the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So they were used to playing there. And you could just tell the other teams did not want to be there because it's not a big league facility. We had the other team changing in a tent behind center field wall, so we knew we had that advantage and we could take advantage of it. And then, just kind of, I didn't get to enjoy the city much. That's a part of the world that I've not been to very often. And because of COVID and how we were kind of forced to be stuck indoors, I didn't get to experience Buffalo as much as I would have liked. And there sounds like there's a chance we're back there this year, but we're really hopeful we're going to be in Toronto by the summer.
Yeah. All right. So you guys have a favorite episode that you've done together?
Ross, do you tend to always say the Rich Hill episode? And I think I agree with you. I would say one of my favorites, though, was the Joe Davis episode. He is the announcer for the Dodgers and also a Fox Sports announcer that does all sports. And I kind of grew up wanting to do that, and to hear someone's journey and hear someone that's actually doing it and how much of a pro he is when the microphone turns on, even when it's just a podcast. That was like really eye-opening and really cool to me to just kind of hear one of those announcers that, you always hear behind the booth, but you never get to really pull back the curtain and get their personality really. So I like the Joe Davis one, but Ross, you always definitely say that Rich Hill one.
Yeah, the Rich Hill one's incredible. And really now that we're getting into the 12-month mark of the pandemic, Coop, it's probably the live show that we did. We did a
Yeah.
live show last, I guess maybe it might have been February in Phoenix at the Baseballism store in Scottsdale. And we had about 90 people there, and we opened the floor and had them ask us questions, which we answered. We had Alana Rizzo and Kyle Farmer up there as well and did like kind of a normal podcast interview with them. And it was a blast, man. And I remember walking out of that saying like, gosh, we're going to do like a couple of these a year. These are so fun. And now 12 months later, we haven't had the chance to do one. And who knows on the horizon when we will get a chance to do another one. So that one, for the timing of it and everything, is now probably my favorite just because it was such a blip on the radar when it felt like it was going to become a huge part of our lives.
So do you have one piece of advice either? I know, Ross, you give financial advice also. Advice, either podcasts, athletes, anything that you would give a kid?
Well, yeah, for sure. You know, the one I get the most is like usually from parents. That's kind of like how do I get my kid scouted? How do I get my kid a Division I offer and that kind of stuff that we get asked really pretty frequently. And I would say like advice to just a general kid is try everything under the sun to find what makes you happy. It may not be sports. It might be video games. It might be ping pong instead of baseball. You know, I don't know. Every kid has different hobbies and different things that they're passionate about. So I think it's just use your youth to just experiment and have fun and do everything that you can, because it goes by so fast. I'm 31 years old. Coop is probably almost 30. You know, it flies by and you just are what you are before you know it. So use that time to just, man, really figure out what you're passionate about and pursue it.
Mm-hmm. And I think as an extension of that, Ross, like even, when you're like our age and you decide, hey, maybe a podcast would be fun, just do it and try it and don't take it like too seriously. I mean, work hard on it, be professional, try to put the best product out you can, but also kind of the way that Ross and I approached it was like, hey, this can just be a hobby for us. If it grows and people love it, then awesome. That's a cherry on top. But like, if it doesn't become that for everyone, then, just look at it as a hobby, like going fishing or playing golf or anything like that. So just, find your interest and make those hobbies.
Last question for you both is, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Oh gosh, it probably goes kind of hand in hand with what I just said. I think really is humility and being humble. You know, it's especially like baseball is kind of a big fraternity in a way. And now that I've switched teams, you realize how much people know about each other. And when I got to the Blue Jays, everyone's just asking me, what's Clayton like? What's Mookie like? What's Muncy like? One by one. And you just realize that, man, just being humble and having nice things to say about other people and being gracious and open the door for a woman as she's about to walk through, or say yes ma'am and no sir, and that kind of thing that you learn in the South all the time. Like those kind of things go a long way. And I know that's a long-winded way of saying, like, I don't know, just be a polite, like kind, humble person.
Yeah, it kind of is similar to the mine, but I had a basketball coach in 7th grade that I loved, and he was really tough on me all the time, but he always would have like just very simple advice, but he just say, control what you can control. And I think that, the things that you can control, like Ross said, are, being available to people, being nice and gracious, and those other things that, may cause you stress that you can't control. I mean, just find a way to put those in the back seat. So that's something that always kind of stuck with me and I think has been helpful for me.
It takes no talent to give effort, Seth. That's like a common one that you hear all the time, man. Like it really, you don't have to have any talent to give effort into whatever it is in front of you that day, and how far that can go to impact someone else's life. You never know.
All right, well, thank you guys both for joining me on today's episode. And you guys can check out the Big Swing podcast on Instagram and wherever you guys can get your podcast. And stay tuned for this episode.
Yeah,
Great,
thanks,
Seth. Thanks, man.